All right. Hey, everyone. This is Sean from 8-Bit Shinobi, and I'm here with an amazing, beautiful cosplayer named Kaylee.
Hi, everyone.
So, before we start, I want to talk to you about our sponsors. JL Cannabis. So if you're like me and you're suffering from joint pains, when in my early 20s, I was diagnosed with tendonitis. So I get really chronic pains in my fingers, in my legs. They have everything that you need, the cream, the gummies, how to grow the stuff, everything that you need. It's all natural, no weird side effects except depending on what you take, you may get high. So yeah, they're sponsoring us. They're in Castleman. There are links in the description. And Jeff, the owner, is a good friend of mine. He knows his stuff. He's a really great guy. If you're in Castleman and you are looking for weed supplies, go to JL Cannabis. Their link is in the description. And our beautiful cosplayer, Kaylee, her Instagram is in the description. So if you want to follow her, check out all her cool cosplays like the one she's wearing right now. And also in the description is our mailing list. Join our mailing list for our crowdfunding. We are crowdfunding this amazing comic book series called Paranormal Academy, and we're crowdfunding. It's a whole big thing because we're going to be opening up the coolest gaming bar that's going to have everything from retro games, new games, virtual reality, and we're going to have a comic book library. That's why we're connecting this together. We're going to have really cool prizes. We're going to have signing events. We're going to have, you can get like a pass to get in. So the way our system is going to work is you pay a flat rate fee to get in. You play as much as you want. Tongue tied. I haven't slept very well, so excuse me for being tongue tied. So it's going to be a really cool crowdfunding. So follow that, and you'll be able to get into some prizes. We're also going to be giving you guys prizes on top of the rewards to give you guys a little something extra because you, the fans, have done so much for us. So we are going to be talking about my comic book series, Paranormal Academy.
Awesome.
Yeah. So Kaylee is going to be our first character. She's going to be cosplaying as Kitsune, the fox spirit. She's in the picture. If you haven't heard about the series and you just saw the picture, she's going to be cosplaying as Kitsune. So we're developing on top of our comic book a cosplay edition. I thought of the old Marvel swimsuit editions where they had all the beautiful ladies and all the guys. I thought the old girly calendars and all that back in the day. I thought of bringing it back.
That's going to be awesome. I really like those things. Kind of like the firefighter ones, I guess.
Yeah, kind of like that. I got inspired after watching Futurama, the Girls of Planet Express, and what was it? American Dad did the Men of the CIA. So anyways, those of you who don't know, Paranormal Academy is a manga series that we're working on. We have a lot of great artists. I was hoping that one of our artists would be able to join us, but unfortunately, he's not able to join us. But we have our amazing cosplayer, Kaylee, today. So the series I came up with the idea of why don't we see all these cool creatures out in the world? Like there's drawings and people telling about how there's elves and fairies and all these mythical creatures. So I came up with the idea of what if they went to another dimension? And then I kind of like created like what about a Dungeons and Dragons type thing? So then I thought of like, the main archetypes, and I'm like, I don't want my characters to fall in those main archetypes. So I came out with I came out with the character Blue, and I wanted him to be more different from my regular characters where they're like they're heroes and want to save the day. This guy doesn't want to save the day. He doesn't want to be there. He's the guy that he's been through some stuff. He wants to party and he wants other people to party with him, and he wants to make people that are feeling bad good because he went through a bad situation. And Kitsune is our other character who kind of grew into a character. She was supposed to just be arm candy, and then when it was drawn and we were developing the script, I kind of saw the character and I said, I think this character needs to be more. So Kitsune's story is she's a fox spirit and her people protect the forest. And one day the goblins killed her father and they were about to kill her. So she's a little girl carrying her father's massive sword trying to swing at the goblins. And then the main character Blue, he's elvish warrior for the sky elves. They're like a completely different race that I created, to be different. So their job is to protect the people. So he swooped in with his team and he just wiped out the goblins, and they fell in love from that day. He brought her to the palace, and they're a team. She's very mischievous, and if you piss her off, she will tear you apart. I had this scene because I wanted to make Blue this womanizer character, but I changed him a bit too. So, but I did keep the scene where this mermaid is flirting with him and pisses Kitsune off. She grabs a mermaid and says, I'm gonna flail you alive.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Yeah, so it's been a series. I know everyone. I've been working on this for a long time. It's been really hard, to get the money to do it, but we're coming into some money. We're getting those pages done. We have our cosplay edition coming up, which is a really cool. You get to see a lot of beautiful cosplayers like Kaylee. So why don't you tell our guests a bit about yourself? What got you into cosplaying?
Ooh, that's a good question, actually. I think I got into cosplaying when I was a lot younger. Growing up, books became one of my best friends because I was a bit of an outcast. So I loved books, really got into Harry Potter, and from there just kind of spiraled. I saw the first Spider-Man movie, and then all of a sudden I hear about this thing called Comic Con, and I'm like, what is this? Like Comic Con? And I got a free ticket to a Friday, and I could only go for a few hours. And I was like, okay, let's try this out. And I'm like, and I hear a bunch of people dress up. So I'm like, let's try and find a costume. So I last minute threw together a Harley Quinn costume of all things. And this was during Harley Quinn phase. And I go to Comic Con, I'm like, this is so cool. But like, I want to make more of my own items. Like I made the baseball bat, but I was like, I'm seeing all these people and they're talking about how they sewed everything. I'm like, I want to try this. So I met one of my friends, and coincidentally, we were both really into Marvel. And my first ever official cosplay became Captain America, and my friend was Bucky. And I just remember it very vividly because I made this jacket from a horse riding jacket that was at a first store for $50, and I still remember one person at Comic-Con coming up to me and saying, "Is that this jacket? Why would you rip it apart?" And all I'm thinking to myself is, I don't know. I thought it looked like Captain America. So that's kind of how I got into cosplay. And then from there, just kind of spiraled into like a whole hole. And I started learning about Warbla, and I started learning about EVA foam. And now I'm got almost over like 6 full storage bags of cosplays and no room to put them. But I love it. So the cosplay collection keeps growing.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I remember my first convention was Anime North. I
Ooh.
dressed up as between Goku and Orochimaru, and just wearing that robe and the paint, the face paint, it was just melting. It was like, and the robe was very warm, so I was like sweating so much.
I know. Sometimes cosplay is like a bit of a sacrifice. Me and my friends will sometimes go to cons in these such elaborate costumes, and it'll become time to lunch, and we'll be sitting down, and we'll have half of it off, and we're just like, do we have to put it back on? But then we're like, someone's asking us for pictures, and we're like, you know what, gotta do it. We're gonna push through it, and it ends up always being great. I always love seeing people's faces. Had so many amazing interactions, even with little kids. My favorite still being there's this little 4-year-old girl out there who still believes to this day that I am the actual ghost spider, and that every time she sees me, I'm cosplaying as my favorite characters. And she's got to keep the fact that I'm Gwen on the down low, and she's about 6 now, I think. And I just saw her again at Comic Con, and she immediately recognized me. And I was wearing like a full costume, like face paint, and she still recognized me. And she was like, I know who you are. I've kept your secret. And I'm like, just that interaction every year. It's just been amazing. Last year, I gave her a lightsaber, a plastic lightsaber, and now she's fully into Star Wars. It's like those connections are just what makes it the best.
Yeah, I think the kids is what really motivates me to want to open my gaming place,
Definitely.
because I want a place where growing up we didn't have very many games, and like I had to, like my friend Jeff, I had to borrow his games. So when he came over, he'd bring his games. Sometimes he'd lend them to me, and other times I'd go over to his place. We played like Command and Conquer, Star Wars. He had the X-Men game.
Ooh.
So I see all these kids not being able to play all these cool games. I'm like, what if they were like a cheap rate to go in to play whatever they want?
I love the idea too, because personally, for me, I don't know about anybody else, but Ottawa is great and all. But after living here for so many years, there's just so much that we don't have, even the surrounding areas. And I'm like, I love hanging out with my friends, but like, we don't want to go to a bar. Like, we're not that old yet. Like, I'm still a young adult. I want to go do some fun stuff, and bowling gets old fast. And I'm like, I love gaming, but everyone going to one person's house and then are unable to play a game because we're not on the same platform, or just because we don't have one of us has the game and the other doesn't, it just gets hard. So it's like it makes it so much nicer if there's a place where you can go and do that together.
Yeah. And they are getting a little bit better with cross platform, but the only thing I don't like is you have to pay for it, but at least you do get some perks with it, like games.
Yeah, it's good. It gets hard too, because like, especially like there's like some games where we can play cross platform, but then it gets a little confusing because like it's some of the things aren't working properly or something like that, and it's just hard, especially because my friends are PC gamers, but I actually don't play on a PC, so I play on a console. And that difference there makes the big difference, because a lot of the PC games are not as compatible with a console, but they're getting there.
Yeah, and another thing is like they're not all in one place, and there's not very much places that are console.
Yeah.
I think there was one, but they're gone, or they don't have very much or whatever. I
Yeah.
think a few of them went down. I think there's maybe like one or two left. And then there's one that's like arcade and pinball only, and then there's one that's pinball. I'm like, why doesn't it have everything? Like, what if I want to play video games, and like, what if I want to go play a pinball? What if I want to play computer games? I want like one. I want it all in one place, and I want like, a variety of food. Because when I take my daughter to Targ, she loves the pinballs.
Yeah.
She doesn't like pierogies.
And you know what? I'm a gluten-free person, and to me, I'm like, like, I can't eat anything there. So like me and my friends are thinking of places to go, and this has become a big issue. We want to go to this place, and we look at their menu, and it's all battered, nothing gluten-free. Or even sometimes we'll go somewhere, and it's all there's a no vegetarian options for another friend. And one of the biggest things is like one of the only board game cafes left is right smack dab in the middle of downtown, which is great, next to Rito. except that then you have to try and find parking, trying to get down there is a mess, trying to meet up all down there is another mess. So it gets really complicated, and it's hard because you want to go somewhere, but then everywhere only has one or two things, or it's like in a really bad location.
That's why I'm really hoping to get a mall location. Like there's
That would be amazing.
because like with the transit now, it like once they link up to everything, it'll be 100% great to get anywhere. But to
Yeah.
get to Rito and San Laurent, it's just like less than 10 minutes. You're down there.
Yeah. Honestly, the train, I'm hoping, like, obviously the train has so many issues, but like if they do actually get the train, like the whole next line up and running, it'll be so much easier for cosplayers to make it to Comic-Con. I have a lot of friends who've had to miss a day because their rides backed out, their car broke down or something like that. And I'm just like, back in the day when I first started cosplaying, I didn't have a car, so I relied on my mom or public transpo. And the 1 year I relied on public transportation, it took me almost 2 hours, and it was raining, and all my makeup came off. So it was like,
Oh, I have a horror story about that. Well, maybe. So I was coming from cosplay from back when they had ACQ in Ottawa.
okay,
I was wearing a ninja outfit, so I had on a holster with like a kunai and everything,
yeah.
and I got like the police basically drew their weapons on me and like handcuffed me and searched me. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? There's these kids that have like the plastic where it's like actually like a gray shiny that it looks like it's real. I'm like, how come I'm getting so I got handcuffed and searched.
Interesting. That yeah, I feel like now that Comic Con has become more popular during that time of year, more people know. But at the same time, they don't, if that makes sense. Because I have driven to Comic Con in like full face paint, and I'm stopped at a red light, and I just look over, and the person who's at the turning lane is kind of looking at me like this, and then notices I'm looking and looks away, but then starts tapping the person next to them, and I'm like, "Hi, I don't know what you're looking at. Like it's just a person in all blue face paint." But then I realized I'm still in a part of it, Ottawa, where it's further out from there, and some people don't know. But it was like it's hard because like when you get there, it's so gratifying. But then until you get there, sometimes there's those people who really don't understand it. I mean, yeah, I've had some interesting conversations because of some of the cosplays I've worn and when I'm not at a convention. It's been great.
Yeah. That was my horror story.
Yeah. I think the only horror story I ever had was it's not really a horror story, it's more a funny story. It was actually recently. I was at the oh my goodness, the recent convention that happened that goes on at Nepean Sportsplex. Was that going on? And I went there and I was Ray. And obviously for me, I like making the characters. I don't like making them look perfect. I like making them look they've been battle because I love that kind of thing, right?
Mhm.
And I had done like these like bruises, like scrapes on my face because she's coming from the sand desert area. And I posted a picture on my story, and obviously my parents are on the story. And my mom texted me saying, "Are you okay? What happened?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "It looks like you have road rash. Did you get into an accident or something?" I'm like, Mom, I'm going to the convention." I know that, but like, what happened to your face? Like, it's makeup. She's like, "Oh," and I'm like, yeah, and I'm just sitting here looking at my phone laughing because my mom physically thought I got hurt. And the thing was that she knew I was going to convention. So she didn't even think it was makeup at that point. So sometimes when I am wearing makeup like that, I do have people stop me. Like I've been at a gas station filling up as Ray, filling up my car, and I had someone come over and ask me if I was okay. And I said, "It's makeup, don't worry." And I wiped it off my face, and they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And then they walked away. I'm like, "It's okay, buddy. At least I know I'm doing a good job with the makeup today."
Yeah, it's crazy. I oh, whoa, did someone come on? Oh. Did you? There's a weird
Yeah,
glitch right
I
there.
was like, all of a sudden you disappeared. I'm like, whoa.
I thought, was there someone else coming on? Is that why it's doing this?
I don't know. Is there somebody maybe in the waiting room? Is there a waiting room on this?
Yeah, I'm. It's usually you'll see them, but when I'm using the phone version, I have to click on the guests. But right now, just you and me that are in the studio.
Interesting. I'm not
Sometimes it's
sure.
glitchy. One time it just like cut out, and I was in the middle of interviewing someone, and this guy was he worked on DC Comics stuff, so he was
Oh,
a big deal, and it was cutting. I'm like, damn it! I'm trying to
mm.
promote this guy's comics.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that would be so terrible. I
Yeah,
definitely technology errors are something that definitely can make or break your day. And coming from
yeah.
someone who works on a computer, a lot of times, like I've had days where I'm just sitting there and I'm like, I can't do anything right now because my computer's not working, my mouse is not working, and I can't even send a message to the IT guy because I can't get on the computer. And it's like, well, what am I gonna do now? So then I have 2 hours where I'm sitting there like trying to figure out how to turn on the computer and it's just not working.
Cool. So, what are some of your favorite series or books?
Ooh, books. Ooh, that's a rabbit hole. Obviously, my very first favorite was Harry Potter. That was like growing up. I was growing up with the movies coming out, so for me, that was kind of like reading along. And as you read the stories, it kind of matures as well. I still remember really weird memory. To remember, I was reading the fourth book, Goblet of Fire, and I thought Harry was gonna die. I really thought he was gonna die in that book, and I started crying at a McDonald's. I refused to read it for a week straight. Um, and I was in grade 2 at the time, so like grade 1, grade 2 when I was reading these books because I was a very good reader at a young age. So like for me, like I just was like for me that was just so traumatizing for a bit there. Um, Other favorite series, I think I'll talk more about the niche series because I really like niche series. I know there's a lot of popular series out there, obviously Hunger Games and all that. I love them, but for me, a niche series would be Tiger's Curse and Fallen.
You should check this series out.
Ah, I know him. Is it the
In a galaxy far,
Far
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 away.
Away? Yeah. No, I've actually talked to him a few times. I have to get to reading it. I have such a large reading list. But if anyone out there, because very similar to Paranormal Academy, kind of like a same vibe as that. If anyone's into like creatures, people who are like turn into like a different animal at certain parts of the day, definitely recommend Tiger's Curse. It's a bit of like a not romance per se. It's a bit of romance, but it's mixed with a lot of like history, Indian history actually.
Oh,
Um,
that's cool.
yeah, it talks about like these princes from India and all that type of stuff, and they have a curse where they turn into tigers, and it's super good, and I just love it, and I try to recommend it to everybody, and everyone's like, I don't know who this is. I'm like, I don't care. You got to read it. There's like 5 books. You will fall in love. I promise. And then they're like, okay. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Please come back. I didn't mean to scare you away, but it's a great series.
I remember the first time I got into Harry Potter, I downloaded the first 2 movies. So my roommate was making fun of me. He's like, every time you watch that movie, you're ripping off that kid. So then I got into it, and then I started going to the movies, and then I bought the DVDs, then I bought the books. And
Yeah.
then I went to Universal Studios. I bought the wand, so I think that made up for it.
Yeah. I will say, Harry Potter Rabbit Hole for me, obviously, was my first series, like I said. I have a season's pass to Universal. Why I live in Canada, I don't know, but I just like it that much. I love going. And then also, my grad trip when I graduated from high school, I went to the United Kingdom for almost 3 weeks,
Oh,
and I did
nice.
a full drive trip around and visited all the different filming locations and went to the studio. So I have a robe from the actual studios here at my house. And I always love when I get to wear it to conventions because it's just so nice. And people are always asking me, like, they're like, that looks like it's such a nicely done piece. And where's it from? I'm like, it's from London. And I'm like, it is from London. I have it folded over for my cosplay because it actually has my name embroidered on it, but I'm trying to play Hermione here. So like don't
Cool.
need my name on it. But like for me, like it's just Harry Potter was just like the beginning of something. So for me it always holds like a really
Have
good.
you played the new game yet?
Have not. I've been meaning to. I just haven't had the time. I have full time work. And then
Are
also
you ever free? You're always welcome to stop by my place. I have it on PS5.
Ooh, you got the PS5 too. See, I might have to take you up on that offer because, like,
Just to give you a fair bit of warning, we have a dog and two little critters. Just,
you are talking to a worker from the OHS,
we
and I
have
have two.
a we have a th- we have a 3-year-old who is crazy. She sometimes bites and jumps and climbs on things, and then we have an 8-year-old who's very weird sometimes.
That's okay. I've worked with kids since I was 12 years old, actually. I was a camp counselor for the longest time. I went to school for a lot of that type of stuff. So I know kids and I know animals. I did camps with kids and animals. So I'm like, I've had it all. I've dealt with things that I don't think anybody else has ever dealt with. I've witnessed things. Been I've had kids like come at me, attack me sometimes. I'm completely used to it. I got 2 dogs and a bunny over here. I'm like, it's just I've dealt with it all. So people are like, how do you do this? And I'm like, a lot of practice and a lot of sanity that I have lost at home. But I love it. I love working with kids and animals. So it's just such a great feeling to teach kids about animals and to just get to see kids grow up and stuff
So
like
what was it like in the UK? I've always wanted to go. My mom's side is from there. She's
that.
from Portugal.
Ooh.
So we've got family all around there, and our other half is from Trinidad. So I think we still have family in Trinidad, and some that are in the U.S. But
Yeah.
I'm from every. I'm kind of like I always. If have you ever watched Inuyasha?
No.
Well, I always compare myself to Inuyasha because it's a feudal fantasy kind of like mine. A lot of the inspiration was from that and Naruto, obviously. We'll get into that rabbit hole after. But anyways, um, it's like a girl that goes between the feudal era to our era. So she falls in love with this boy who's a half dog demon and half human. So he's always called a half breed. So I'm like, I always associated myself with that character. And
Yeah.
the Naruto aspect of my book is that it's very character driven. Like all the characters have their own really cool stories. So there's also these 2 characters. One is called Orin. He's a goblin. So he was kind of like an outcast. He didn't really like fit in with the other goblins. He didn't like raiding and pillaging. He was a healer and he kind of was stood out from all the others. And one day he decided to save a boy who was a cripple. And while he was saving him, his people turned against him, and he happened to have this little piece of rock armor that is used for healers, that if they get injured, that the armor goes around them and it protects them. They can walk. So this armor, while they were fighting, ends up on the boy, and he becomes part of the armor, and he saves the goblin, and they become best friends, and then they go on a journey, and he has the boy, the golem. He wants to be a hero, so they want to join this place called the academy. So the Mages Academy is where everyone goes to train. So they train to fight off evil because the history. I actually kind of sorry if I'm rambling, but
You're all
the
good.
dimension that they go in, I kind of went on a play on word with the title. It's called Paranormal. So basically, when they left the world, all the evil that they used to take care of kind of started festering. And because the dimensions are like connected like a coin, all the evil that they used to take care of, but now is is like out of control started affecting their world. So they developed this program called the Mages Academy, where they would train the next generation to go into the human world, fight the evil, or take care of anything that happens in Paranor. So like they're kind of like the peacekeepers.
That's awesome.
Kind of like in Harry Potter when things go around, all this stuff goes down, and you have the Aurors come down and they wipe people's memory. We have like the Black Ops team, which they take care of like Black Ops stuff, where they kind of try to keep the secret, or like if there's like secret missions where other teams aren't allowed to, that they would handle like assassinations or stealing or all the kind of stuff that needs to be done, like kind of like the CIA of their world. So that's what they do.
I like that. That's giving me some. It's giving me some like really good vibes. Like that's a lot of like the type of stuff I watch. I love that kind of stuff. So kind of, I don't know if you ever seen it. Obviously, it's a big show, but Supernatural.
I gotta get into that. I've seen a couple episodes. I watched the anime. They had an anime that was cool.
That I've been wanting to watch. Is it good?
It was good. I liked it.
I'm getting really excited because I gotta start watching it soon. And I'm like, I'm a big fan of Supernatural. It's a long commitment, and I'm like, I just love it, and just the cast of it, just amazing in person and on the show. I've got to meet all of them, and I was just like,
I heard a rumor that one of the guys from Supernatural is going to be the next Batman.
Yes, that would be Jensen Ackles they were talking about. Cross your fingers that does happen.
I'm really hoping, because no offense to people that like the current two Batmans, I just don't like Ben Affleck.
Yeah, me neither. But I have a friend who really loves him, but I'm just like, yeah, he's great. I'm like, no.
I just feel like the stories aren't that great. Like, I'm like, if I want to watch Batman or the Justice League, I'm going to watch the animated versions.
Me too. I used to watch that as a kid. Love them. I actually have not been able to get into DC, like because I don't find the DCs very good. I'm like, I don't really like them. Joker was good. The Joker movie, that was really good.
Oh, I like that movie. I'm looking forward to the next one.
I am too, especially that oh my gosh, that who they cast for Harley Quinn. Like
Lady Gaga is going to be Harley Quinn. That's pretty.
I don't get me wrong. I love the original casting. I love Margot Robbie, but I'm like, Lady Gaga just already feels like a Harley Quinn to me. Like, have you ever seen, they were at Comic-Con this year, but have you ever seen the Hollywood show?
No, I haven't.
They do parodies of stuff. So they're YouTubers. They do these parodies. And one of their old parodies was of Suicide Squad. And they did it to one of the Lady Gaga songs. And every time I listen to it or see it, I'm just like, I immediately, like, I feel like I'm like, the Lady Gaga song just gives me the Harley Quinn and Joker vibes. I highly recommend watching their parodies if you've never done it. They're just amazingly done. And they're amazingly beautiful people also. So
that's a lot of fun. Getting back to Harry Potter, how hard was it when Dumbledore died?
When Michael Gambon died? Yeah, that was really hard. That hit me. Definitely sad too. I was watching all the videos of Universal and them putting their wands up, and I was just like, it's such a beautiful moment. One of the hardest deaths from Harry Potter that hit me was actually Hagrid, the actor who played Hagrid.
Oh, that hurt me too. I'm like, that guy is such a nice guy. I'm like, no.
I was heartbroken because Hagrid was like one of my favorite kind of characters, and also not only that, literally just it happened just after I'd been to the UK. And when I was in the UK, I actually got to go to the train station, the original train station where they filmed the scene in the first movie where he's waving to the kids coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, and he was just such a crucial part of Harry Potter. Like, I know he didn't have any big roles, but to me, like, he was the one who introduced Hogwarts. He was the one who brought Harry to Hogwarts. He was like that first little piece of magic in the books for me. So I'm like, it just hit me super hard. And I was like, it makes you sad because you know you're not going to see him again. And it's like he's such an amazing actor. It was hard.
I think the ones that really hit me the hardest was when Kevin Conroy passed, because I got to meet him like a few times, so I felt like we built like a connection, and he remembered my name, so that was really hard for me. I'm like, I really wanted to reach out to him once my series was established and have him voice a character, because one of the things we're working on is getting a voiced version of the comic book. So there's going to be a cosplay edition. There's going to be a voice series, maybe one day an anime. I'm really hoping for that, especially with all these Netflix originals and stuff. Call Netflix, be like, look at how big this thing is. Make it happen.
Like, look right here, like, great.
Because I wear shirts at conventions. I'm not wearing it now because I couldn't find it. But I have the shirt with Kitsune on it. I have people tell me that this is like the next. This is really beautiful. This is the next big thing. I had people tell me this is like the next Dragon Ball Z, and I'm like, it's not even finished yet. I mean, like the artwork isn't finished. The story, there's like 15 chapters, and the 15th chapter, I'm going really hardcore with that one. I'm gonna make it in the freaking Guinness Book of World Records for being the biggest comic book, because I wanted to like end everything, but I also wanted to introduce all the new characters in the next series, and introduce like everything, like just to get everyone's like backstory story in, like the backstory between the Mage Academy, and just like set things up and like put things about the main villain. So I haven't mentioned the main villain yet, but so once Blue meets up with his team, they forge, I think, over the first book. Um, there's an evil that was defeated not too long ago, the Necromancers. So the Necromancers, that was led by the Necromancer King, and he's like one of the most powerful beings in Paranormal, next to the Elder Mage. They were basically rivals. So when he was defeated, everything went back to normal. But now they're coming back and trying to bring him back to being full power, which would mean once he's back, all the forces of evil, like the goblins, the witches, the banshees, all the evil are gonna come back together, and it's gonna be one big battle. And the reason I kind of I've made this guy the villain is because one of my main characters is a necromancer. So he has a bit of a connection with the necromancers, but he's not evil. He was found by a mage when he was a child and raised to be a hero. So I kind of like, he's kind of like the hero he's afraid of his powers, because his powers is so great that if he used his full powers, he would hurt people. So he was learned to kind of like hold his powers back. So he's a little bit timid. He's also gone through stuff, which is why Blue connects to him, is because he kind of sees that in him. He sees another soul that's hurt, that's gone through stuff, and he's the kind of guy that, like, he's not like the guys that that want to bring people down to their levels. He's the kind of guy like Robin Williams, that he's hurting on the inside, but he wants to make everyone feel happy. So he puts on that facade of partying and drinking and stuff. And I want him to like grow as a character, fall down a couple of times, and then he goes through another traumatic arc. I'm not gonna like spoil it, but issue
Is there any sort of
15
spoiler here?
issue 15 is where the shit goes down, and we get into like future events where they go into the future and they see what's happening.
Ooh,
One of the characters is he's not part of their team. Everyone has their own team, kind of like Naruto.
yeah,
And he's a seer, so he's like having all these visions, and he's like, well, I gotta go and see what happens. So he goes to an alternate timeline and visits it so that he could see what's going on.
that's
So
awesome.
it's not to spoil too much, but it's called the Broken Timeline, and it basically has everyone training for that big moment where they're gonna be facing off. Not the future events, they're going to be facing off in like an exam setting. So to get onto the second year where they get to actually go off to save people, they have to go. All the teams have to fight each other, and they have to collect all these items. And the last group standing get to advance to year two. So they're all training for that. And then the seer, Moonstar, he basically goes to the future because he's having all these premonitions, and he's like, I need to know more about what's going on.
That's awesome. Kind of like the whole entire like the time kind of thing. And with it being so relevant right now, it's really giving me some Loki vibes there. And I'm like, it's really it sounds so cool. And
It's
it's
kind
really
of, I kind of also got the kind of stole a little bit of Dragon Ball Z where the android where they go into the hero comes from the past to fix the future, like the X-Men too. I
yeah,
mean, it's a trope, but I think it's one that works because it's so iconic.
it does.
And I want to change things, but I also want to keep things, part of the iconic where someone has to change a future timeline.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, honestly, there's some things that movies, books, TV shows do that as much as everyone's like, "Oh, it's already been done, it's already been done." It's kind of like it's that is just like something that like is just so iconic. Like the trios or like the good versus evil or even like another great one is having that the person who is not good or nor evil, he's like a anti-hero. So Loki obviously anti-hero, even Wanda's an anti-hero now, more like a villain now apparently, but like we're gonna say she's an anti-hero because
I don't even know anymore. I haven't kept up because like I stopped following it because I was like I think I mentioned when you said Wanda, I said I used to follow the Uncanny Avengers where
yeah,
she was like a main character. It was like the aftermath of where she fought the when the X-Men and Avengers fought, and she fought the Phoenix.
yeah. I've been trying to I've been trying to read more comics, but right now my issue is trying to find them or getting them because unlike books, there's just so many of them. So trying to like get them all and to read them all, it's like so I've read some of them. I haven't got to read all of them, but obviously I've done all my background research because I'm like I love learning everything there is to know about a character. So like
You know a good bit. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but instead of getting the issues, you can get like a thick book about this big that has all the issues in it. So it's a really great opportunity. It's like a reprint, but it has like all the issues in one that you can like read through it. Like I had one of the amazing Spider-Mans, and it was like about this big. That's how I read all the original ones.
that's awesome.
So good. Like the stories were just so amazing. And one thing that the movie fans always critique about the new Spider-Man, they're like, "Oh, he's not a geek. He's supposed to be a geek." I'm like, "Have you ever read the original comic books?" Is I think that some of the newer ones did a better job. That Peter Parker isn't a geek anymore. When he gets the spider powers, it breaks him out of his shell.
Yeah, like, and obviously, like, people say geek, but for me personally, I feel like there's such a wide range when you say geek. Because, like, some people, when you say geek, they think of somebody who has the big glasses, doesn't talk to anybody, and studies all the time. And then there's other people who think geek means they really like all the fandom stuff and all that. So I feel like there's just such a wide range that like saying, oh, he wasn't a geek, or oh, he's supposed to be a geek. I'm like, that's just a general term. Like there's so much more to somebody. You can't really just use the term. Obviously, I call myself a geek. I call myself a nerd. But I'm like, when it comes down to it, I was not good with math. I was not good with science. I was not good with all that stuff you'd say a geek or a nerd would be good with. So it's like, it's also, you got to understand those differences too, right? Because it's like Spider-Man, in my mind, is a bit of a nerd. Like, I mean, obviously, in all the Spider-Man adaptations, it's shown a different way. But like some of the, I think it was the first movies where he was like a bit, he was very sheltered, kind of like that type of stuff. The second movies, he was very much into photography. Like they showed a lot more of the photography side. And in the recent movies, you haven't seen much of his photography side, but you have seen a lot of his like his quirkiness with like the Star Wars Lego, and you've seen all that type of quirkiness. So like each movie shows a different kind of side of Spider-Man. So I think
there's also different eras of Spider-Man too, which is why I get mad when people hate on the Amazing Spider-Man. I'm like, he was a great Spider-Man. I'm like, if you look at like the scene where he's like talking to Electro, and he's like trying to talk him down, and he's being sincere, even though he completely forgot about him. I'm like, I mean, that happens to me too, right?
yeah. No,
But he's like there trying to talk to him as a person, trying to talk him down. He's like, okay, guys, I'm talking to Max. Nobody shoot at Max. And I'm like, that's a thing that Spider-Man did. I'm like in the series, the Avengers versus the X-Men, where Spider-Man was facing off against Colossus and Magic Phoenix Force. They were the most powerful beings in the universe that they could have melted him into oblivion. Where he was able to talk to them, where they gave up their powers.
yeah, no,
And
honestly,
I'm like, that's what Spider-Man does. He's more than just either a geek or this or quirky. At the core, he's a guy that 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 relates to the common person. Like, he's always going through stuff, and he's always willing to talk to help people. And that's what I really loved about the new Spider-Man game, where I felt like it was the best of all the worlds. Like, I felt like they took a bit of the ultimate, they took a bit of everything, and they made it just so perfect as like that Spider-Man. Like, they took the best. I'm like, he's a Spider-Man that wants to help people, even the villains, and that's why I really love Spider-Man. Like, I grew up with the old one, like the really, really old one, the Spider-Man, Spider-Man. Okay. And
no,
then I
I love.
discovered the 1980s one. I'm like, where was this? Because I went from the 1970s to the 90s one. I'm like, whoa, that's a huge difference. And
Yeah,
then I saw the 80s one. I'm like, how did I not get that middle where it was a little bit better?
I was honestly, for me, I love Spider-Man so much. I tell people Tom Holland has been one of my favorite Spider-Mans, but Andrew Garfield is also really high up there for me. And because of the movies, that was one of the first Spider-Man movies I saw, besides not including like the cartoons and all that type of stuff. And for me, I just really loved the fact that he was like talking them down, because the whole reason everyone loves Spider-Man is because he's such a relatable person, but also because he's such a genuine human being. He's genuine. It's hard not to like Spider-Man. And it's just amazing getting to see all these kids growing up. The new Amazing Spider-Man movies, amazingly done. And now I'm like seeing all these little kids going out, coming trick-or-treating with Miles, Spider-Man, Spider-Gwen, these little girls dressing up as Spider-Gwen, and that makes me so happy, because as a kid, I loved this type of stuff. But I obviously grew up in the 2000s era, and for me, something I noticed, especially it's been changing now, is when I went to Disney World for the first time when I was a kid,
I
and I'm
remember
sitting here,
that.
right, and it's all Disney princess dresses, princess this, princess that, and I love princesses. Don't get me wrong, but when I was a kid, I was a tomboy. I didn't want to dress up as a princess. We did Bippity Boppity Boutique, and I dressed up with a Minnie Mouse dress because I was that against getting a princess dress, right? And I was like, growing up, I'm like, there was not much for like people who were more into the other stuff. And now they've got Star Wars area, they've got Avengers Campus. And I'm like, I go to Disney World now and I'm like, I see these little girls who are like chasing Rey. And I'm like, that makes me so happy because there's these girls who don't like, they're like, no, I'm not too much into the princesses. I prefer to see this. And now they've got those type of characters to look up to. And I'm like, I love it. Like Ahsoka and Hera are amazing role models. And I just love seeing the interactions and like, it's such a great era now. I'm just like, I just wish that when I was a kid, there was all that stuff about because I definitely, I was
I think there was, but it wasn't as like big.
it wasn't
Like
as big. No.
that's why I liked X-Men. Is it had everything. It had all the big strong guys, and then you'd have like Jean Grey who could move things with her mind. You'd have Storm who could control the weather.
Yeah.
But I like now there is so much more. I'm like, I know some people will like there's everyone everywhere talking crap about everything, but I'm like, I think it's a good thing. I'm like, maybe some things could be done better, but I think anime does it the best because I feel like they have one person writing it. You don't have everyone like, oh, I'm gonna write this character this way, or I'm gonna make her this way. I'm gonna make her more like me. It's one guy doing it, and he's all about making good characters. I think anime really started the train of making characters better where they're like in Naruto you have like all these villains like that go through stuff too. Like there's this guy called Gara who controls sand, and he's a freaking psychopath. Like he just murders people. He just like uses the sand and crushes them to death, and then takes an umbrella and like all the blood splatters on him.
Yeah, plug in the computer. A plug came undone.
Oh, that's okay. So he's a psychopath, and then we get to learn more about him. That he was this kid that he was the son of the village leader, and they put the spirit of the raccoon demon in him. So all the kids were terrified of him, and the only friend that he had was his uncle. And then his uncle betrays him and tries to kill him, and then says, "I never really loved you." He says, "You're the reason my sister's dead. I've pretended to." And he says, "Live only loving yourself." So he started living this way, thinking everyone's trying to kill me. I'm going to kill them. But then he meets Naruto, who is this very upbeat guy who's there to protect his friends. He's also going through the same thing. He has a fox demon in him. So he knows what it's like. So they face off. And then they start to realize, oh my God, this guy is like me. So then Gara starts to be like, maybe I can be more like him. And then he becomes the village leader. And then everyone starts to like him. And that's what I really loved about the Naruto series is everyone had their own story, and everyone like kind of like this character starts off as no one really likes him, but then he starts getting friendships, and then it goes to like the whole village loves him. Everyone loves him. And it's like all these characters, like they go through things. Like even now, one of the main villains in the first season is like a good guy, and they say, well, he's a better father than all the other characters.
Yeah, character development and like stories, like in stories, is really necessary. I feel like that people connect to these characters. Like obviously, as cosplayers, I don't speak for everyone in the cosplay community, but I know a lot of cosplayers. The reason we do what we do is because these characters bring us joy. These characters, we feel similar to these characters in some way. I usually cosplay characters who I've had some sort of connection to, or who I really impacted like things I do. And like for me, Ahsoka for one thing, like when I first started getting into Star Wars, I started watching Clone Wars, and I had heard about how Ahsoka, like I'd seen pictures of Ahsoka, but I heard about how Ahsoka was pretty hated at first. I started watching this show, and here little girl who comes on the thing and is like super snippy and always talking back, and I'm like, whoa, she kind of sounds like I was when I was younger, where I was just like, I know everything, but I really didn't know everything. And I'm like, and then she starts to grow, and you start seeing these connections and like all these different backstories and all this different stuff, and you just start to fall in love with the character. And then you
Oh,
learn
I
who the
loved
voice actors.
Ahsoka. Like I remember seeing the movie when it first came out. I'm like, this is great. Like I
Yeah.
don't know why people are saying it's not. I mean, the animation wasn't the best, but then I think it gets a little bit better. Everything gets better.
Oh yeah,
You
and also
watch
like
the first Simpsons season one, you see how horrible the animation was, but we didn't care.
yeah, no, and also like voice actors too. Like we have to be like coming into how you're making your novel and all that type of stuff, and you're pulling people in. Like that's the way to do it, because the thing about these things is it's not just the content of the story, the content of the images. It could be a great story, terrible images. It could be great images, terrible story. People want something that they can relate to. And also, they really like it when those people are passionate. For me personally, and one of the biggest things I love about Ahsoka is Ashley Eckstein, the voice actress. She has such a beautiful human being, and she loves Ahsoka herself. She loves the character. The character is her. She relates so much to that character. So when she meets fans who love it just as much as she does, she embraces it, because to her, she's just another fan too who loves Ahsoka just as much as everybody else. And I just feel like that is what really brings people together. Because like,
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody out there knows, the Universe brand was made by her. She made this brand because she felt like everyone should have an opportunity to wear their favorite stuff, and it's amazing. Like that is what I love about this type of stuff, is how much commitment and passion and how much like devotion there is to this stuff, because that's when you really know a series is good, when someone
That
puts that
yeah, that
devotion.
was one of the reasons why Kevin Conroy hit me so hard. Like I grew up watching him, and it was like it was talking to a friend. Like I feel like some of them, it's like you meet them, it's like you're talking. When I met JDF at
Yeah,
Comic Con, me and my cousin were huge fans, and I got to talk to him, and he was like so happy to see me. He like saw that I had a dragon dagger, and he signed it for me.
that's awesome. No,
And
I just
just like
love it.
hearing of his passing, I'm like, damn it, Grim Reaper, stop killing people. You
Damn it,
took
Grim Reaper,
enough.
damn it. Oh, I
And
just
then the
yeah.
original Harley Quinn passed away. I was like, no.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard. I mean, I just everything about it, the devotion of behind everything. I just love it. It's like the same thing with a lot of people, like with Stranger Things. The
Mhm.
backstory of Stranger Things is crazy. Like the Duffer Brothers were turned down numerous times, and then Netflix picked it up, and then it blew up. And you know, all those other companies are like, and we turned them down. But the Duffer Brothers were determined. They had this idea. They wanted to bring it to life, and they saw it through. And we got this beautiful thing called Stranger Things, and it it was an amazing story. It's got very similar to other stories, but it's very different from a lot of stories. And it also brought in the D&D community, and a lot of people were so happy about that. It's just a great series written by great people. Like it's
Well,
I
I think
love it.
that is one of the problems that Hollywood is following. Sorry, the trap that Hollywood's following into is we want to make money. What makes money? It's not like,
Yep.
here's a cool idea. I like this idea. I think it could be big. Let's make it happen. You
That
know,
that the
I mean,
remake.
how many times do I have to watch Uncle Ben die?
I love Spider-Mans. I will. I love them. But here's the thing. They know people are going to come because it's this character. It's a money grab. I hate to say it, I'm a Harry Potter fan. I loved the first Fantastic Beasts. Great concept. But then they started rolling out more and more, and like some of the storylines is terrible. And I'm like, dude, like I know it's like meant like I know it's not Harry Potter per se, but this is a way of like getting money. Or the thing was, what was the other one? They just announced that they're doing Harry Potter as a TV show, which is going to be super cool. Don't mind you, but like I'm just thinking, I'm sitting over here thinking you could take some risks. You could do a Marauders show. I wrote a show about the Marauders. How about take some risks and pick up a book that has been like that has like a background following and do it? Because like I hate to say it, there's so many good books out there that would be so good as a TV show or a
I
movie, but
think
they're not.
that's why the Harry Potter game did amazing. It wasn't, it was new.
It was new.
Everything was new. Like, there's new concept. I'm like, I'm like sick and tired of like, oh, yeah, it's some dark wizard from Slytherin.
Slytherin. I hate the fact that it's like Slytherin's been branded that way. Like, and that was a big thing about it. A lot of people are like, it's like in the book, the original books and movies, they're talking about how not all Slytherins are bad. Slytherins don't necessarily turn out evil. And then, I hate to say it, J.K. Rowling comes out with the cursed child, and Harry shuns his son because he got it since it's Slytherin. I'm like, this reads like bad fan fiction. Like, what is going on? But then I looked at it. I'm like, I pre-ordered this book for an insane amount of money. The pre-orders were almost sold out. Just, it's because it's the nostalgia. And I'm like, God, I want something new. I need something new. I need something that is not redone 8 million times.
You're really gonna enjoy the game. It's like, I'm not gonna spoil it, but it's not like the same it's not focused on dark wizards.
I've heard
There's
it's really
dark
good.
wizards there that you gotta fight, but they're not the main thing. It's like a whole different thing. I'm like, that's it. Take damn risks. Bring new things.
Take goddamn risks. Yeah, you got to take goddamn risks. You got to take the risk. If you don't
Like, I mean, people do want the same similar things, but they don't want the same thing. Like, I think the X-Men had that problem. It was always Magneto, Magneto, Magneto. I'm like, you do realize that there's like a gajillion mutants out there?
Yep.
And Fantastic Four is like, how many movies of Doctor Doom are we going to see? There's like other villains in there.
Yep. No, I completely agree. I want to see some stuff. There's some things that I've been wanting to see, and every time I get excited that they're gonna I think they're gonna announce it. They don't. One thing I am excited about is that they are bringing the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes to life. I'm super excited for that. I think that's a really cool concept. I think the idea of that is great. I just hope it's really good. It looks good. I'm crossing my fingers that it's good because Hunger Games obviously was really well done as well. But just crossing our fingers, it's good.
Yeah, I'm hoping for that too. It was a really good series, and I'm like, I find that recently a lot of movies are just like blah, like the characters are just like blah or over the top, or like I'm like, I want a character that I can care about, you know?
You know what? Honestly, I'm gonna put this out here now that we're talking about this. A recent series that did come out that I honestly think wasn't One Piece, the live action. I've just started watching anime, and because my friends have been begging me forever, and I started watching the One Piece live action. I've also started watching the actual One Piece anime, and I will say one thing: I think the live action was brilliantly done. I have a few things about it that I don't like compared to the anime, but like other than that, I'm like, I loved it. It was so well done, well executed. I think it really has potential, unlike some other things like Riverdale. If anyone ever watched
Oh
Riverdale,
God, I hated that and Sabrina. I'm
oh,
like, that's
oh,
not
that Sabrina
Sabrina.
had so much potential, and then they just ruined it. I was like, what are you doing? Like,
And then they're like, they defeated Satan. And I'm like, where do you go after that if you're more powerful than him?
I don't know. In Riverdale, I just saw like I've seen some videos of what happened in this season, and I'm like, bro, what did I miss? And like, what the hell happened to Riverdale? Because like I know they were going off of Archie, but wasn't supposed to be fully Archie. I was just like, however, after like I think the second or third season, I was like, what am I watching? Like,
I honestly think it would have been better if it was a sitcom.
I don't know. It had potential that it flopped. Like I don't know. I was just like, I'm watching this thing like
I watch the old cartoons and I'm like, I'd rather watch this in Riverdale.
I know. There's so many things these days that I feel like they did because they know people will watch because of the nostalgia, but they just slapped together because they just knew the faster they get it out, the faster the income. And I
They're
really
like,
hate
well,
that.
teen drama is good. Let's we have Archie. We have the rights to Archie. Why don't we make it a teen drama and why not mystery and murder?
But
I'm
then it
like,
goes into a bunch of random other shit. I'm like, what is happening? The story makes no sense no
I
more.
think the only time that ever happened was that controversial story where Archie gets shot or something like that. But it wasn't even the main book line. It was like a one-off story.
I don't know. I'm like, it's just so weird. And like, I'm just like, I love movies, but recently I've definitely found I'm going to movies less because like I don't see the appeal. I mean, one of the recent movies that I really liked, there was the new Avatar. And as much as James Cameron went on and on about saying like it had to be 3 hours, there were scenes that were 20 minutes long where they were underwater, and I was like, it was unnecessary. I love getting to watch it, but personally, I'm not going to go back home and watch a full 3 hour movie again because it's a long time to watch a movie when only about 2 hours of it is actual plot.
I think I had to watch it twice when we got it on Disney Plus. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, gotta go to bed. The kids, something. That's how movies are now.
Yeah, it was beautifully done. It was so beautiful. I loved it, but I'm like, it did not need to be 3 hours. I feel like because it was 3 hours, the story kind of lost me there. But like, that's been the best movie recently that's come out, in my opinion. I mean, if you watch Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, I loved the graphics. I loved the idea. Hated the execution. There
Yeah,
was
I
some
didn't like what they did with Wanda. I'm like, she's not really a bad guy. She's just like going through
I was
something.
so confused. I was so confused because I know that in WandaVision, the end credit scenes, we see her getting affected by the Darkhold kind of thing. But it was like a major jump to her murdering people and stuff like that. And then also like
I think even in the comic books, when she went mad, she just created from what I remember, her own universe.
I was like, there was just so much happening. And then all of a sudden at the end of the movie, it was like this one thing happened, and then all of a sudden she's fine, and then boom, she apparently is gone now. I'm like, what? Where was like the like it went up like this and then it went straight back down. There was no like this. It was just like whoop whoop. It was like I'm done. I'm like that. I was like that. No, it didn't make sense to me. It did not. It really didn't.
I like the Spider-Man movie that came out, the Spider-Verse.
Yes, the new Spider
I
Verse.
think that has been the most faithful Spider-Man series.
I love Spider Verse to death. I love it. Everything about those movies, amazing. Animation, amazing.
But one thing I really think they should bring is the games into like a movie, like that storyline. That it's like a movie on itself. Like I could play that for like days.
I think one of my favorite things about the recent Spider-Verse movie that came out is the way they incorporated all the different Spider-Mans. They incorporated the different styles. And I thought it was going to look terrible, but they did it so well. They even had live action in there. And I was like,
I
the
like
way
that part where they show up in Venom, the Venom verse.
Yeah, no, I love it. And then also the fact that what I really enjoyed is that they gave an opportunity to a young kid from Canada who has great potential. This is probably going to skyrocket his career. He's going to want to do this in life to be in the movie because that whole Lego scene was animated and done by a kid in Canada. I think he's 14. And he was done because he actually recreated the whole first movie in Lego. And when they saw it, they said, "We need to get this kid to do something." So he got to do that whole scene, and you know that kid is now going to grow up and do great things. Like I hate to say it, but that's where he's gonna in 10, 15 years from now, he's gonna be that person who's making those movies that you want to go see in theaters. Like
Yeah,
he's
I
done.
think we need more of that. Like, I'm sick and tired of seeing the same old. I mean, I like the same action movies, but like sometimes it gets like they don't really do anything with the characters. Like I'm rewatching old Marvel movies like Blade, and I'm like, how are the graphics better than some things we get today?
Mm-hmm. Oh, and don't forget here's a great thing. Don't forget the worst of all, the continuous Fast and Furious and the continuous Transformers. They keep making them. They keep getting worse. I don't know what they're doing. I just saw at one of the recent Fast and Furiouses. I was on a trip, we are on a cruise, and I'm just watching this, and I'm like, what? Like, how did this become this? And like, huh? And I'm like, it's just becoming too much. They're just throwing in these big name actors. They're throwing in all these funny punches, and I'm like, dude, you lost me. Like, get back to the actual good story if you're gonna make more.
Yeah. I like the Bumblebee movie, but the Beast Wars movie, I'm like, we're so out of character. I'm like, Optimus Prime would never put himself over the humans. He'd be
Yeah,
like, okay, we gotta destroy that thing. Humans, the right of any being is beyond us. Like, he
yeah,
would like he would fight Megatron to stop him from getting resources to save Cybertron to help another race. Like that wasn't to me that wasn't Optimus Prime. I mean,
yeah,
he did the best job that he could, but I felt like we went like 10 steps forward to like 100 steps back.
yep. Because the Bumblebee movie was good, and then yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's hard these days too. I feel like I hate to say it, but I think with COVID affecting everything, COVID-19 shutting a lot of stuff down, I think now businesses like movie industry was just trying to recollect things. So they were just pushing out movies like this. And I get it, but also at the same time, it kind of disappoints me because now it might ruin that opportunity for a really good movie to be made out of it because this movie's made and it just flopped. Like it, I I just it's hard because like I'm a big movie lover, so I'm like I hate seeing things flop. So I'm like crossing my fingers for this Percy Jackson TV series because I'm so shocked but so happy that they brought it back after the movies failed.
Yeah, I really liked the books. I have read all the books. I read the expansion. I'm like I have to rewatch, but the expansion was really good where they got into like the Roman gods and they got they did such a good job. Like some of the times where they invent new characters like the new Avengers or whatever, you don't care about these. I'm like I want to see Thor and Iron Man and Spider-Man, but they did a really good job of introducing these new characters and bringing some back, and then bringing Percy near. I forget where, but the original cast eventually joins in with the new cast, and they did it in such a way that made it work.
Yeah, that's one series that I think was really well done.
But I think the reason why the One Piece did so well is because they got the right cast, they got the right director and actors and writers, and the creator kept an iron grip on things. Apparently, they wanted to make things not so great. It's like, nope, you're not doing it that way. It has to be this way.
Yeah, and honestly, like with me watching the series like almost right together because like I just started getting into anime, I will say like they even took things that may have like kind of were annoying in the anime and stuff like that and like kind of fixed them. Like one thing I've noticed is Sanji and the live action not as much going crazy over Nami, but in the anime it's every 5 seconds big heart is oh Nami and I'm like bro, that's getting overdone now. But like, I like that they kind of changed that a bit because I like seeing that character, his character. I really like seeing that other stuff, and I like how like he's still going to Nami, but he's not so excessively doing it. It hides the rest of his qualities.
Yeah, but with anime, every sometimes certain things get like exaggerated a lot, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
some of the appeal to it is like the exaggerations of the inner monologue emotions and all that.
Yeah, I will say I actually prefer exaggerations of Luffy in the anime. I was like when I was watching the anime, I'm like, why didn't they do this? Because I just loved it. Because Luffy is just he's such a like not a dork, but he's kind of clueless. I hate to say it, but like half the time he says something or he doesn't even realize what's going on. He's standing there like, what's going on? And I'm like, that's so me. That is so me. I'll just be standing there and I'll be like, wait, what did you say? What did you say?
I really have you seen the interview with Luffy and the creator?
No, I haven't.
I think it's on YouTube. If you find it, he actually goes to his wherever, I think his studio or whatever, but it looks like a museum of One Piece. But you don't see him because they blur out his face with like an image, and he basically he tells him that he says you're the character you portrayed on the live action is the character that I drew.
Oh, that's
And then
so
he gave
cute.
him the actor gave the creator a piece of artwork with Luffy that he did, and he made like a speech how he said, "Thank you for bringing this beloved character to life."
Oh my
I think that's what we need is stop hiring these people just because they're big. Get people that can do the role.
God. Thank you. Thank you. That enough said. That's everything.
Like no one heard of Hugh Jackman before he became Wolverine.
Yeah.
That's why it was so well. But now it's like, yeah, let's get this guy. And I'm like, you're just getting him because he's big, not because he can do the role.
I literally just saw him on my TV, and he was like on some sort of like racing kind of show, something. It was like some sort of like drive show or something, like something to do with like all wheel. And I'm like, huh? And it was just because, and he literally was saying that one of his friends or family members was upset, saying that he was mad that he got to go on the show and that he didn't because he was such a big fan of it all and knew it all, but Hugh Jackman had no clue about the show. And I'm like, huh, that explains it. that would do it. But I was like, yeah, it's just there's some actors that have been overdone quite too much, I would say.
And I think that there are some actors that are too full of themselves.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. But yeah.
That's just my 2 cents, but I'm like, there's a lot that actually care about the fans, and like,
I like ones who care about the fans. I really, really enjoy that.
I remember my first experience at Anime North. That was my first experience because I liked watching YTV, and they were like promoting it. I'm like, I want to go there. My family's down there. I'm like, can I stay over at your house? So I'm going to the convention, and my uncle sees all these weird people screaming out whatever, reenacting stuff, and he's like, "You owe me."
You owe me. You owe me.
So anyways, I get in there, I'm by myself, and I meet Michael Dobson. I'm in the line, I'm like nervous, and he's like talking to me, and he's like, "Oh, I've been in this what do you like?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I like that." And then we just started talking, and then like from that day, every time I went to see him, he was like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" We talked like we haven't seen each other in 20 years, you know? And then I brought my girlfriend, who's now my wife at the time, and they weren't allowing pictures or anything. But he was like, "Oh, hey, it's you! Come take a picture." And they just completely disregarded everything. So I got a picture with him and his brother Paul Dobson, who played Majin Buu. So I was like totally geeking out. Like he was just so awesome.
Oh yeah, I love actors like that. Like there was the one year on a Comic Con, Mark Shepard came. He plays Crowley in Supernatural, but also a TV series not many people know about, but I absolutely recommend. I absolutely love White Collar. He was one of the villains of White Collar. I absolutely laughed. That was one of my favorite panels because all I remember is he comes out on stage about 2-3 minutes late, and he looks down at the chair that's on the stage. And he puts his microphone up. He's like, "I have no fucking idea why they brought this out here. I told them I didn't want a chair." And then they kept switching the chair out because we kept seeing them come out with a couch, a different chair, different chair. He's like, "They keep bringing these chairs out, and I keep telling them I don't want a chair." And they're like, "Oh, well, we'll get you a different chair." He goes to the chair, he pushes it over, and he's like, "I don't ever want a chair," and jumps off the stage. He's like, "I prefer being down here with you guys," and just starts walking around. And then he goes up to people and he's like, "So how you doing today? What is it?" And like I'm like, he just completely broke the rules of a convention and how you can't stand up to ask the question at the mic. He was like coming up to people and he was like, "Hey, how you doing today?" And then he's like,
I felt like Rob Paulson was kind of like that. Like when I got there, he was just like in the line with everyone else.
I know. Oh yeah, yeah. I love it. This year Grace Van Dyne was there, the one who played. She played Chrissy, like Chrissy Wake Up in Stranger Things. I was at my friend's booth. My friend has a booth there. It's Craft This. They have all the big green leaves at Comic Con. I'm sitting there and I'm like just hanging out. And then I hear someone say, "Oh, is there any way to get this so it's packaged safely? Go home." I'm from California. I'm like, "Oh, that's so cool. I just came back from visiting there." She's like, "Yeah, it's amazing. I really like it down here in Canada." And then all of a sudden, I'm looking at something. I look up and I'm like, "Oh my god, there's Grace Van Dyne." Grace Van Dyne was buying a little Pokemon pot because she loves Pokemon. She was freaking out over how cute it was, and she was just talking to everyone. And her dad was there, and her dad was looking for a Funko Pop of what he's from. And he's like, yeah, I'll take a picture, but don't tell the Comic Con. I'm not supposed to do this. And then all of a sudden he's like, "Do you see my daughter?" And he's screaming, and she's like trying to hide. And he's like, "That's my daughter. She's Chrissy. Wake up! If you don't know her, go see her at the booth." And he's like screaming. She's like, "Dad, please stop." He's like, "She's one of my daughters, and trust me, I tell you, the amount of crayons I found on the floor when I was a kid, because there was a crayon booth nearby, and it was just so wholesome because it was like." She's just blushing. She's like, "Dad, please stop." And then everyone there is like, "Oh my god, it's Grace Van Dyne." And she's just here like, "I'm so embarrassed." It was great. Such a great interaction. I love those.
Yeah, I liked when I met Mr. Kim from Kim's Convenience, who also played on Star Wars.
I met him too. I had a whole cool pose idea for my photo op because I had Ray, and then I came and he's like, "Oh my god, awesome cosplay! Did you make it yourself?" And I just speechless, couldn't talk, couldn't do it. I was like, ugh. So my photo has me looking like I'm trying not to like screech or cry, and he's pointing at me like this with a happy face, and I'm like, I love this man. I love him.
He was really nice, and he said he tried to stop by my booth, but he got really busy. So I don't hold that against him. But I told him all about myself and how I had Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
And I also told him because he doesn't sound like that. He doesn't have the accent. He turns on the accent. I says, "You kind of remind me of my dad. My dad's from Trinidad, and he basically sounds like anyone else. Someone from Trinidad or Jamaica comes, he starts talking in Caribbean. I'm like, what the fuck are you guys saying?" Like
My family's from
some of them
Newfoundland,
are
so I get
so
that.
hard with the accent, I can't understand it, even though I've lived it. I'm like, okay, I get it. And then there's some where you freaking need to like, what the hell did he say?
Oh yeah, no, I get it. My dad's from Newfoundland, and one of the biggest things that happens sometimes is he's talking. For me, it's completely normal. I've grown up with him, and then he leaves. Like it was in the shed. Actually, I have a friend over for they met him for the first time. He leaves out the door, and then they look at me and they're like, "What did he say?" And I'm like, I start laughing. I'm like, "Oh, he's just joking around." And they're like, "No, like literally, what did he say?" I'm like, "Wait, did you not understand?" I'm like, "No, he has such a heavy accent." I'm like, "What accent?" And then I realize I start listening to other people, and I'm like, I get it. Like my dad must have such a heavy accent to them, but for me, I grew up with it, so I understand it. But everyone's always like, "Your dad's got such a newfie accent," and I'm just over here sitting like, huh, he does?
Yeah, there's some people when they have the Caribbean accent where it's like really fast and they use a lot of slang in it. That's when I have trouble. 'Cause
Yep, yep. There's some slang I love telling people, and I
most of
think
my
it's
aunts, most of my aunts, like they're like they can't turn it off. My dad and my grandmother, the rest of my cousins grew up here, so they don't have it. But they're the ones that could turn it on and off. I'm like, what the who? What's going on?
and it's
When
great when they
did
use
you?
slang too. It's great when I
Yeah.
see my dad talking with other Newfoundlanders, and he really gets into it because he knows they understand what you're saying. But sometimes he'll say those phrases, and people are like, "What the fuck?" Like he'll say things like one of my favorite things I always tell people is I like, "Have you ever heard who knit ya?" And they're like, "What do you mean who knit ya?" I'm like, "Who knit ya?" And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "In Newfoundland, who knit ya means who's your parents." Like
Ah,
a lot of people don't get it. There's just so many random like words there, or like mummering. People are like mummering, like muttering. I'm like, no, mummering, like mummering, and it's a Christmas tradition in Newfoundland, and it's
so
like,
I was there a long time ago. What's up with the tradition where you got to bite off a fish head and drink a shot of whiskey?
oh wait, I should go grab this right now. I have this here. So that's if you're not a Newfoundlander, but you want to become a Newfoundlander because we're open to everyone. Um, you can become a Newfoundlander doing the something called the screechin'. and we have this really, it's disgusting. It's called Screech. I have some right over there actually on our wall, and it's Screech. And the whole tradition is you gotta kiss the cod, obviously, take a shot of it. You got to do like a jig and stuff like that. So there's like a whole thing you got to do to get screeched in to become a Newfoundlander. So like I went to my cousin's wedding recently, and they actually got all their bridesmaids and groomsmen screeched in at the event. So, but they weren't allowed a real fish because the guy who was doing it came from Newfoundland. He said they wouldn't let him get real fish through. TSA said no, so he had a fake fish. It wasn't as much fun. It was a fake fish, but it
Well,
was.
we were down from Newfoundland, and I think my parents had to do that. But
Yeah, it's quite fun. As a Newfoundlander, I'm like I don't have to do it. I'm kind of glad about it, but it makes me laugh. It's a great tradition. It's even
and I
things like
find that everyone from that area, like Nova Scotia, the Maritimes, are like the friendliest people in the world. Like,
yeah, we still hold something called Tibbs Eve at my house. So Tibbs Eve is a Newfoundland tradition, basically, because on Christmas Eve you can't really get drunk and have fun with your friends because you've obviously got your kids, you got to do all that type of stuff. So Tibbs Eve is the day before Christmas Eve, and that's when you party. So every year on the day before Christmas Eve, we just have a big crowd over. We start an open invitation. We're open. People come in. People stay till 2 o'clock in the morning, and we just have a good time. It's great. I mean, I love getting to continue those traditions here. Stuff like with Thanksgiving dinner recently, we have something called salt beef. Some people don't know what it is. Some people do. That's something of a very Newfoundland tradition. So it's great getting to have those traditions here. It's fun.
yeah, it's really cool learning customs, and I'm like learning my own because someone said they wanted to learn about Trinidad, and I said, okay, let's learn about it. And I learned that basically Christmas is kind of like almost like a block party where you're going to your neighbor's house, you're like drinking or eating, and then you keep going. I'm
Like
like,
yeah.
wow.
Like
It's
yeah,
just like so cool, like how some places it's like such a everyone's so close to each other, and I'm like, I never experienced that because we lived it out in the middle of nowhere, and like nobody cared what you were doing as long as you're minding your own business.
and that's why we're so lucky. The street that I live on is actually very similar to Newfoundland. We have a very good thing. We do we do street neighborhood barbecues. We all talk like we have our own chat and all that. And I love it because it really reminds me of Newfoundland. Because in Newfoundland, like one of the things that my friends like, it takes them a few tries. So some of my best friends for years now, they now get it. But some of my good friends who have been friends with like for 2-3 years, they still have a hard time with it. I'm like, they're like, I'm at your door and they knock or something. I'm like, dude, why are you knocking? Why are you texting? Just walk in the door. Like you're just supposed to walk in the door. If I'm home, you walk in the door. You want food, you take the food. You don't need to ask. After the second visit, I don't expect you to ask me for food or drink. I expect you to just get up and take it. I don't you go ahead and take whatever you want. My house, your house. Done. And a lot of my friends don't understand it, but I'm like, that's the way I grew up. That was what Newfoundland was like. It's like to me, that's normal, but a lot of people don't think it's normal. So I still get that friend literally like 2 nights ago. Hey, like I think it was last week actually. Hey, I'm at your door. I'm like, just come in. He's like, I don't want to just walk in your house. I walk to the get to the stairs. I'm like, dude, come in. And he's like, fine. And he walks in. He's like, I don't feel great walking into your house. And I'm like, dude, you've been here like 100 times already. Like, it's fine. Just walk in.
Yeah, that sounds similar to us. Like in Trinidad, in our culture, like if you're a close friend, you're basically family. You're like,
Exactly. Yeah. No,
I'm like, I have uncles that aren't uncles that are blood. I had a grandmother that wasn't grandmother but was more than blood. You know.
I've got a second mom and a third mom, not even related to me. I've got unofficial siblings because they've traveled with us and stuff like that. I've got everything. I
Yeah,
got like a bunch of
that's what I
different.
like about the conventions too, is when you have the kids come up to you. I had one little girl come up to me. I think she was a little autistic and was like very like socially awkward, but I was like, she's like, "Oh, I'm so happy that I'm broke, but I could still play video games." So I
love
dug
it.
in and I like well we had a lot of some of the Pokemon cards that were still a lot left. And I'm like I grabbed a pack and I said, "Here you go."
Aw, that's awesome. Yeah, it's great. I love it. I love that community feeling. It's just the best.
Well, like I know, like when I'm at a booth, like if I when someone says, "Well, I don't have this," go over to 8-Bit's table. He has it. Or someone says, "Do you have any?" I only have like maybe a few Transformer stuff. Like I'm basically just trying to get rid of my inventory, so I don't have a lot left. So I just want to get rid of it before I bring new stuff in. But I had a few Transformers. Like, do you have any Transformers? I've said, go see Robot Scrapyards. They have everything. I remember one time I was at his booth. He assembled a Transformer that was like a gun, like this. And then he starts putting it away, and I'm like, you just had to put it away. Then the Daleks comes down. I'm like, we could have used that.
The Daleks every year at Comic Con, I don't watch Doctor Who, but I'm like, I just love them. I need to see them every time because I still remember one of my like I think it was my second Comic Con where I was Captain America. I still have the video, and there's a Daleks, and there's a blow up dinosaur, an inflatable dinosaur, and they're having like a showdown, and like the Daleks is like, haha, you can't even talk. Your arms are too short. You can't reach me. He's like, your arms are too short. You can't even hug yourself. And he's like, at least my family didn't go extinct years ago. And then I'm like, yo, like chill. And then the dinosaur is like going at the Daleks, and I'm like, I just love it. It's just
Yeah, it's funny that you see how cute those things are, but in the show, they're like basically space Nazis.
yeah, I know. But in real life, I think they're hilarious. Like I have them come up to me, they're like, who are you? What are you doing? And then they're like, Wanda, and then they're like, I like what you did. I like how you went evil. Or they'll start following me around and being like, what are you doing? Please pay attention to me. Please pay attention to me. And I'm like, dude, these things are amazing. I love it. And I
Yeah.
don't even know what they are, but I love it.
Sometimes I just get into things because of Comic Con. I'm like, oh, you're an interesting character.
Yep. Yeah, I love Chopper. The 501st Legion, they've got all like all their droids and all that, and there's a Chopper droid that somebody made, and I just love it because he does this little flex thing that he does in the show, and it's just so funny because to me, I feel like Chopper is just constantly swearing. He's a war criminal. We all know he's a war criminal. The biggest memes that's come out of Ahsoka has been the fact that Chopper was denied his chance to be a war criminal, and that if he'd been given even a little bit of leeway, he would have gone and done war crimes. He would have had the whole show done within one episode. And I'm like, facts, because if you watch closely enough, when Chopper's going through all this stuff, and Hera's like, I need to move your thing. You watch, they had to throw it in there. There's a Lego piece in there. There is a Lego piece in his inventory, and I'm like, I want to know who he stole the Lego piece from. Who did he steal the Lego arm from? Because Chopper got that somewhere because he stole that. He stole that. I'm just like, I love him. It's like, and I see him in person. I'm like, I love it because I go up to him. He's just going like this, and he's getting all mad, or he's going like he's like shaking his fist at you, and I'm like, yeah, he's definitely giving you the finger right now, but like it's a kid show, so I can't say that.
I love the droids. They are just like the best things in Star Wars.
Facts. C-3PO, love him. He's such a little like worrywart. So I'm love him. Him and R2D2 is so funny. He's always R2D2 is like, all right, let's do this. And C-3PO is like, no, it's not safe. Wait, I'm coming. I don't know what else to do. And I'm like, yep. It's like the extrovert and the introvert relationship in droids.
Well, they're like the original Odd Couple.
They really are. They really are. It's hilarious. I mean, I just love it. Even Chopper's got his own counterpart. C10, C3, C10. It was something C10, C10, CP10 or something. I don't know. But he's funny. It's a very similar relationship with them too.
Well, anyways, we got to get wrapping up. Thanks for coming on. I'll definitely have you on again.
Woo-woo.
What are some cons that you're going to be attending anytime soon?
Ooh, I think the next one I'm going to be going to is Pop Expo. So the one that's run by Nabima Collectibles.
Oh, I'm actually helping Simon with that one. So
You're helping Simon. Awesome.
you
So
didn't hear this from me, but there's going to be a very big anime guest. I can't say who, but I'll tell you about it later.
oh, I'm sure I'll find out from either you or Simon. Because
Yeah,
I've been in
I knew the
contact with
person,
Simon.
so he came up to me. He's like, "Can you book them?" I said, "Yeah, here's their contact information."
Yeah, no, I'm
I
super
basically
excited.
helped. I helped them the last time. I helped them book some vendors. I got Geoff Isherwood there last year.
Yeah, no, I love it. I'm super excited, super stoked. I'll probably be wearing Wanda. I'll only be able to go Sunday. I'll probably wear Wanda just because I've obviously been doing I've been on a lot of the promos for Pop X with Wanda. And Wanda's just a very fun character to be. But I'm really excited to go. I love the Pop X events. They are amazing. I love them. Obviously, I'm at Ottawa Comic Con every year as well. Maybe G Anime again. And any of
Oh, do
the
you know my buddy Paul that runs G Animation?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. I only been once so far.
He also does 8-bit Bazaar, kind of like me, but he focuses more on retro stuff.
Maybe I'm trying to think that I know a lot of things. But yeah, no, any of those type of shows I usually go to. Typically, it's usually the ones that are on Saturdays, as I work Sundays. So it'd be a Saturday event if anyone's looking to see me. So
All right.
yeah, but I'm hopefully gonna have another cosplay soon. I'm doing the cosplay for your notebook as well. Woo woo. And then I'm
Yeah.
also hoping, I'm really crossing my fingers, I'm gonna try and make the new dress from the Songbirds, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, the really iconic dress. I really want to do that. Really hoping, crossing my fingers.
All right. And make sure to follow Kaylee on Instagram. That's where all your cosplay pictures are and everything.
Yep, they're all there. My most recent one, Hera's on there. Obviously, Hera's still work in progress, but I really love Hera, and obviously
I saw the picture in it. I swear that I was watching Ahsoka.
woo! Yeah, it was it was a labor of love. One of my biggest projects. The Likus, the ones here. A lot of people were shocked, but they're actually made completely of latex, so they are squishy and they do move. So they were a work of love and a couple months of work. So I'm really excited about that.
Well, I'd love to have you on another time, and I totally want to do this series about cosplay 101. Been wanting to do that for a while, like tips for conventions, things that you don't think about, and like tips and tricks. I'm like when I go to a convention, all the things I need to bring with me, and people don't think about these things.
100%, because when I first went to a convention, I was also completely lost, but I definitely got it down. And if you ever ask me what's in the back of my car at a convention, there's usually a hot glue gun, sewing kit, a cooler, and there's a battery pack. And those are some of the main things you need, but not all of them. A lot of people don't think of that.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on. This was a great show, guys. Make sure to links are in the descriptions. Check out our Instagram. Definitely sign up for the mailing list. You'll get lots of cool rewards, updates. Like I said, this is going to be a really cool project. We got a lot of interesting people that are artists, cosplayers, and we're also looking for your feedback. If there's something you want us to bring, we will make it a prize or a reward. You let us know. This is for you guys.
Woo!
And another thing for the cosplay book, I'm talking to a guy that's going to be making it, and he, what do you call it when you digitally edit things?
Oh, when you
the backgrounds and stuff. Photoshop.
Photoshop, yeah.
So we're going to Photoshop the backgrounds from the comic book with the cosplay.
That is awesome.
So it's going to be like it's gonna bring, that's one of the reasons why I want to make it, is to bring it to life. So the panels, like all the world, you see a little bit of it with the different places, the mystic forest. There's gonna be so many different places. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Make sure to sign up.
Yeah.
And this is gonna also be on TikTok and BitChute and Rumble when I get a chance.
Woo.
Thanks for coming on. This is 8-Bit Shinobi signing out.
Hi.